Good day, everyone. So, today's topic is about how learning is facilitated under subject of modern approaches in teaching. This is Nestoria Tadena Nodonza, student of Master of Arts in Mathematics for Teachers. So, there are three elements at work in the classroom. These are techniques, strategies, or the implementation, methods or procedural, approach, or the philosophical beliefs are axiomatic. So the organizational key of these three elements, we have approach. It is a set of belief systems or philosophy dealing with the nature of education or a language learning and teaching. While the method is an overall plan for systematic presentation of the concept based upon a selected approach. While the technique, it is a specific activities manifested in the classroom that are consistent with the method and therefore in harmony with an approach. So we have here the lead approach. So in the classroom, we must encourage students to use active techniques of learning to explore the meaning of what they are doing or in order to construct their own understanding, which is the exact opposite of the traditional approach of feeding understanding to the students and the students simply swallow what was being fed to them. So that is called constructivism. So we have here comparing traditional teaching and constructivism. So we have to compare traditional teaching and constructivism. So we have here in traditional teaching, the instructor is the center or it is instructor-centered model. And it is only one-way transfer of information. Only the instructor is giving the information. And there is no room for thinking and understanding. And it is limited participation and it is loose attention amongst the teacher and the students. And it is boring. While the constructivism, the students learn best by constructing new ideas based on comparison with current and previous knowledge. So learning now is an active process. And students automatically brings prior knowledge forward. And students share their experiences with their group and learn from each other. Okay, so the following approaches are anchored on constructivism. Number one is the whole language. So the whole language is a method of teaching children to read by recognizing words as a whole pieces of language. So proponents of the whole language philosophy believe that language should not be broken down into letters and combinations of letters and decoded. Instead, they believe that language is a complete system of making meaning with words functioning in relation to each other in the context. Next is multiple intelligences. So multiple intelligences is a theory advocated by Howard Gardner, which posits that humans are endowed with various intelligences. Some are innately fully developed, others are minimally developed, but others can still be developed. So this is advanced to point out to teachers that teaching methodologies and techniques should cater to various intelligences. So among those top multiple intelligences are the musical, linguistic, spatial, logical, mathematical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, and existential spiritual. So next is differentiated instruction. So differentiated instruction consists of efforts of teachers to respond to the variance among the learners in the classroom. So whenever a teacher reaches out to an individual or small group to vary his or her teaching in order to create the learning experience possible, that teacher is differentiating instruction. So teachers can differentiate at least four classroom elements based on the student's readiness, interest, or learning profile. So I will discuss it later. So next is the schema theory. So in schema theory, a schema describes an organized pattern of thought or behavior that organizes categories of information and the relationships among them. So it can also be described as a mental structure of preconceived ideas, a framework representing some aspects of the world, or as a system organizing and perceiving new information. So next is cooperative learning. So cooperative learning is a teaching method where students of mixed levels of ability are arranged into groups and rewarded according to the group's success rather than the success of an individual member. So cooperative learning structures have been in and out of favor in American education since the early 1900s, when they were introduced by education the American education reformer John Dewey. Cooperative learning is sometimes thought of as simply as group work, but groups of students working together might not be working collaboratively. So the next one is the reflective teaching and learning. So this means that both the teacher and the students look closely at what they do in the classroom. So think about what they do it and think about it. A process of self-observation, self-evaluation, self-correction, and internalizing new insights gained and apply them in a similar other situations and take it as learning experience. So a more efficient way of doing this approach is writing a diary of classroom episodes such as a problem encountered, why it failed, and how it was solved. So next is discovery learning. So discovery learning is an active process of inquiry-based instruction that encourages learners to build on prior knowledge through experience and to search for new information and relationships based on their interests. So psychologist and cognitive learning theorist Jerome Bruner first outlined the principles of discovery learning in a book about how people construct knowledge based on prior experience. So similar constructivist learning theories were developed by John Dewey, Jean Piaget, and Lev Vygotsky, all of whom suggested that discovery learning encourages students to become active participants in the learning process by exploring concepts and answering questions through experience. So the next one is the modular approach. So this modular approach is the approach that we are using today, this pandemic time. So in modular approach, it's in an approach to the design of equipment, systems, programs, and the like, in which independently prepared as self-contained units or modules are combined to form the final product. So this allows for simultaneously developing and testing the various components, and also helps break down large and complex systems into more manageable parts. Also called modular principle, modular technique, modular design, building block approach, or building block design. So that would be the other term for modular. So the next one is the experiential learning. So experiential learning, it involves learning from experience. So from the word experiential. So it is from experience. The theory was proposed by psychologist David Cope, who was influenced by the work of Dewey, Lewin, and Piaget. So according to Cope, this type of learning can be defined as the process whereby knowledge is created through the information transformation of experience. So, experiential learning theory differs from cognitive and behavioral theories, and that cognitive theories emphasize the role of mental processes, while behavioral theories ignore the possible role of subjective experience in the learning process. So the experiential theory proposed by Kolb takes a more holistic approach and emphasizes how experience, including the cognitions, environmental factors, and emotions, influence the learning process. Okay, so the concept learning. So the concept learning, also known as the category learning. Concept attainment and concept formation is largely based on the works of the cognitive psychologist Jerome Bruner. So Brunner, Guggenau, and Houston on 1967 defined concept attainment or concept learning as the search for and listing of attributes that can be used to distinguish exemplars from non-exemplars of various categories. So the next one is the inquiry-based learning. So inquiry-based learning starts by posing questions, problems, or scenarios. So rather than simply presenting established facts or portraying a smooth path of knowledge, so the process is often assisted by a facilitator. So inquiries will identify and research issues and questions to develop their knowledge or solutions. So inquiry-based learning includes problem-based learning and is generally used in small-scale investigation and projects as well as the research. So the inquiry-based instruction is principally very close related to the development and practice of the thinking skills. So next one is the process approach. So the process approach is the application of a system of processes within an organization. So together with the identification and interaction of those processes and their management. So a process can be defined as a set of interrelated or interacting activities which transforms inputs into outputs. So these activities required allocations of resources. So, such as, what are those resources? Those resources are the people and materials. So, the processes are managed as a system. So, by creating and understanding a network of their processes and their interactions, the consistent operation of this network is often referred to as the system approach to management. So, the performance of an organization can be improved through the use of the process output. Okay, so we have here the elements of cooperative learning. So, the cooperative learning researchers David and Roger Johnson have identified 5 elements that define cooperative learning. So the first one is the face-to-face interaction. So students are promoting each other's learning through face-to-face activities where they can discuss and explain assignment topics with each other. So next is positive interdependence. So students have the sense that they're in this together feeling, that each member's individual effort will not only help them or help him, but the whole group. So the grade of each student is dependent upon the effort of the other group members. So the next one is individual accountability. So each student is accountable for their own contribution to the group. So clearly described goals ensure that each student knows what she is responsible for and what the group is responsible for. Next is the group processing. Group processing. Students have given a means for analyzing their group for how well the group has learned. So, and whether or not collaborative skills are being used. So, in group processing, we can analyze if the each members of the group is really collaborating with each other. So number 5, collaborative skills. So this collaborative skills, the student learn not only the subject matter but interpersonal skills and how to work in teams. So this is also the advantage, one of the advantages in cooperative learning. So collaborative skills. So the collaborative skills will be developed. So their interpersonal skills can be developed on how to work with their teams. Students are taught skills in communication, leaderships, and conflict management during the early stages of cooperative learning session. So the specific skill process by each member is made use as as the task assigned as a contribution to the project. Okay, so we have here differentiated instruction. So because not all students are the same, they have different or multi-intelligences. Some are high in IQ and some are low. So teachers should find ways to be able to be effective in their teaching. So teacher can differentiate as at least 4 classroom elements based on students' readiness, interest, or learning profile. So the first one is content. So need, what the student needs to learn, or how the students will get access to the information. Next is the process. So activities in which the students engages in order to make sense of or master the content. The next one is the product. So culminating projects that asks the student to rehearse, apply, and extend what he or she has learned in a unit. And lastly, the learning environment. So the way the classroom works and feels. So uh, as teacher, we have to make our classroom conducive to learning, and we have to decorate it, and also as a teacher we have to be friendly and approachable. So that's part of the learning environment. Okay, so some techniques anchored in these approaches. So we have here the journal writing. So keeping a journal or a diary is a great way to chronicles events in your life. And this journal writing will help you to grow. So next one is the role playing. So the role playing is a learning structure that allows students to immediately apply content as they are put in the role of a decision maker who must make a decision regarding a policy, resource allocation, or some other outcome. So this technique is an excellent tool for engaging students and allowing them to interact with their peers as they try to complete the tasks assigned to them under specific roles. So this work can be done in cooperative groups, and our students can maintain the persona of the role throughout the class period. So students are more engaged as they try to respond to the material from the perspective of their character. So we have here the advantages of role playing to students. So the first one is students immediately apply content and relevant real world context. The next, students take on a decision making persona that might let them diverge from the confines of their normal self imposed limitation or boundaries. The next is students can transcend and think beyond the confines of the classroom settings. And lastly, students see the relevance of the content for handling real world situations. So we have here the methods popularly used by the teachers. So the first one is the lecture method. It is an oral presentation of information by the teacher or instructor. The next one is discussion method. This discussion involves two-way communication between the participants. And the next one is the demonstration lesson. So the example is the BAS group. So number 4 is the brainstorming. Next is the role plays. And next is cooperative learning. And next is group report. Okay, so to sum up, in facilitating learning, a teacher must be able to use the three most important elements of work in the classroom: the approach, methods, and techniques. So they should be inconsistent and in harmony in attaining the objective of each competency for the sake of our students. So, according to the ancient Chinese proverb, tell me I forget, show me I remember, involve me I understand. And that's all. Thank you.